I can't tell you how many times I've been in this situation where I'm working with a new client and we're making some progress improving their movement and how they feel, but we can't quite get them over the hump to the extent that I want initially. But then we go and we address this one muscle group and things all of a sudden click and everything is significantly better. That muscle group that tends to hold people and lock them into their pattern and position and restrict progress is their lats. Now, the lats are a huge muscle group that spans a lot of real estate on the back itself. Now, they run from this thoracolumbar fascia through the inferior border of the scapula and also onto our humerus right here. So this is a lot of our back. And what this muscle has a tendency to do is internally rotate the arm, but also, and relevant to what we're talking about, extend the back and keep it in an extended position if it is in a shortened state. This muscle group can have effects on both the upper and lower body because it prevents our ability to move into a neutral position of our rib cage and our pelvis. And if you've ever seen my content before, then you know I'm big on getting this stack where we can access a neutral position so that way we can move in and out of different positions. But until we get this stack first, it's really hard for other things to stick. Now, traditionally, when people go and they try to stretch out the lats, they usually do something that looks like this. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about things because a lot of the times they end up just extending their back. And that's kind of what the lats are already good at doing, but also they're trying to address both lats at the same time. And I think that there is potentially a better way. See, people usually have issues with one or both lats. Sometimes they just need to address one lat and not the other because people tend to be asymmetrical. So if I'm stuck in a position like this, which I'm exaggerating obviously, then I have this lat that's probably more tight than this lat. So if I go and stretch out this lat because the shoulder's internally rotated and I'm more compressed on this side, that'll help me even myself out and things will improve on both sides. But if I stretch out this lat and I get more length in it and I compress this side more, then that can actually make things worse on both sides. And other times people have issues on both lats and they're going to benefit from addressing both. And I'll show you which approach is best for you. First, let's take some easy measurements. Let's take shoulder internal and external rotation. These are both very simple things that tell us generally how good of a position our shoulder is in at rest. To do this, just lay on the ground or a firm surface and get your elbow directly parallel out from your shoulder. Make sure the back of your shoulder stays on the ground. And then go down until you feel like your shoulder is going to pop forward or you hit meaningful resistance. And then for external rotation, just do the exact same thing, making sure nothing is really moving other than your arm and your forearm. Now, what we're going to do is address the lat one at a time. I want you to try this stretch, and then I want you to retest both sides, and then do your other side and retest both sides. Some people will get worse when they do one side. Other times, people will benefit from doing on both. So that's how you know which one is for you. Whatever is going to help your test the most is probably the way to go because that's representative of you being in a better position. This exercise in particular is in the first phase of both my beginner body restoration program and my shoulder health program for a very specific reason. Actually, last week I switched this from the second to the first phases of the program because I realized more and more how important this is and how much of a low-hanging fruit it is to address for some people. And I'm constantly tweaking these programs to make them as good as they can possibly be. So if you want lifetime access to updates and you want to see other exercises that are really good for addressing common problems people have, look at the link below. Now here's the stretch, and if you find that this works for you on one or both sides, I recommend you do it 2 times per day, once in the morning, once at night. Do 2 sets of about 5 to 8 slow breath cycles. The breath is hugely important here. Pay attention to the intricacies of this exercise because it's really easy to just stretch something out. But with the breath, we're actually really expanding the rib cage that's compressed due to this lat in part, and that's going to really help us reposition our rib cage, improve our breathing dynamics, and also improve our ability to really elongate that lat. What we're going to do here is get in a door frame, or we can use a squat rack, whatever works, so that way we can hook our fingers completely around something nice and comfortably. So usually one of those 2 things is going to be best here. We're going to start in a parallel stance, hip width apart with the toes straight ahead, and we need to make sure that we get a thumbs down grip perfectly shoulder level. So not too high, not too low. Straight out from our shoulder, nice and relaxed straight arm. What we're gonna do now is take a slight step back with the right leg, just so the toes are in line with the heel on the front foot, and we're gonna stay heavy on the left foot. Now, we're going to round our back, flex our back. The lat extends our back, so we want to create length by rounding the entire back, even the low back. Do a little posterior pelvic tilt. Okay, now this is the most important thing, and this is where most people are gonna screw it up. Keeping that rounded back, just subtly turn into it, just a little bit, and drop this left shoulder. Right there is all you need, all you need. And then you're gonna feel a nice, but not overly intense stretch on that lat. And now you're gonna exhale through your mouth. Nice long sighing exhale, not but for 5 to 10 seconds. And you're gonna feel those left side abs engage, or the opposite side of the side you're stretching, because this side is more closed off now. Maintain that slight side ab engagement at the end of that exhale, and then close your mouth, inhale through your nose, and feel this stretch out even more. 5-second silent inhale. So we're not trying to go really hard, we're just trying to ease our way into this. So again, very moderate lat stretch, little bit of a turn, keeping the back rounded the whole time. Exhale nice and long for 5 to 10 seconds until you feel your side abs on the opposite side. Hold that, inhale through your nose silently. I should not hear you inhale, but I should hear you exhale. The most common mistake on this by far, as I touched on, is people are gonna crank into this and turn way too hard. This is not an aggressive stretch. We want it to be nice and subtle. We want this to be a relaxed position we can get into. So make sure your grip is relaxed. You're just very subtly turning into it, keeping your back rounded. It's much less than you probably think you need to. If you feel a giant stretch, that's great, but chances are you're actually not in the position you want in your low back and upper back. You want it to be about a 5 out of 10 stretch, nice and subtle. Optionally, some people benefit more from more of a thumbs up grip, so you can experiment with that too. Everything stays the same, but for this you generally want something you can wrap your whole fingers around. Same thing applies. Step back with that same side, round your back first, and then subtly turn into it, dropping that shoulder a little bit. Right when you start to feel a decent stretch, it's all you need.